Good evening and welcome to our first program on this new timeline. As you all know that the time in the across the United States, it went back to summertime. So now in the United States and in Guyana, we have the same time. So it's 7 o'clock, just after 7 in both New York and in Guyana. We want to welcome our viewers tonight on tonight's program. We want to thank Nohar Singh for making this platform available to us, and of course, Devin Bisu, our technical specialist. This evening, we are extremely honored and very privileged to have with us the minister within the Ministry of, is it Public Works Minister? I know the name has changed.
Public Works.
Public Works. So we're back to Public Works, and it's really a great pleasure to have you, Minister, this evening.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right. And then, of course, my co-host, Dr. Rose. Welcome again, Dr. Rose.
Thank you, Charles.
Minister, now that the budget is gone, all the good and bad things that went on in the budget, that's over. It's passed. Your ministry have a very substantial budget. What are your plans this year in terms of your objectives that you plan to achieve based on your budgetary allocation?
Well, first of all, Charles, how much time we have so I can know how to see my responses?
Good question,
we don't have
Minister.
much time.
If you can make it short and spicy, because we have a lot of questions for you tonight.
All right. So first, let me just say, right, so the Ministry of Public Works have about $32.9 billion of capital spend, which is 32% of the entire capital spend of the country. So the budget has about $103 billion in capital expenditure for this year, 2021, and the Ministry of Public Works have 32% of it. So we have the lion's share of capital spend. But my portfolio as a minister also stretches across to energy. I work with Prime Minister, who is coordinating on the energy sector, and I am managing the energy sector with him, along with him. So I have that aspect of the portfolio in government as well. So the objective really is to get the programs that we have in our budget, that we have itemized in the budget, to get it on the road, get them implemented. 100% of the spend, we are looking to spend that this year. Last year, Public Works, the rate of spending was about 95% of the total spend for the entire year for 2020. And we hardly had 4 months to implement. So it was, working at warp speed. This year, we have more. The budget is the largest budget that Public Works has ever seen. I have checked it. I've checked some of the other budgets, and our total between the capital and current is $39.6 billion, and that is a lot of money to spend. So,
and of that 39, Minister, how much is capital work?
2.9 billion is capital works. So what we can do is maybe go through some of the initiatives that we had on the cards, and I want to tell your viewers how we are doing this in Guyana, how we are transforming Guyana.
Yeah, we will do that, Minister, in the program. You mentioned energy. I thought Minister Vikram Bharat was the energy minister.
So what happened, right? How our government is Minister Bharat, who's my colleague, is in charge of oil and gas. Obviously, the Vice President have oversight over that sector as well. With energy, it deals with the energy projects that we have. We have GPL in there. We have Guyana Energy Agency in there. We have we call Power Producers and Distributors Incorporated, which is Wärtsilä, managing the Wärtsilä engines. Sorry. And then we have the Hinterland Electrification Program, which deals with about 7 small satellite companies that provide electricity to the hinterland communities. And then we have, lastly, we call it Power Utility Upgrade Program, which is a funded project that deals with the upliftment and the rehabilitation of the entire network, but in phases. They had some parts of the network that they did, and to help GPL with their management system. I think it was 64 million US a couple of years ago, and it was run separately under a different program called Power Utility Upgrade Program. So those are some of the other areas. When we talk about energy, we're talking about that.
Okay.
Right?
So, Minister, yeah, sorry. So if I can get you right, you're a minister within the Ministry of Public Works, but you also
Correct.
work with the Prime Minister to overlook some of these other areas. Is that what you just?
Yeah, specifically the energy sector, yes. Which
You're a
falls
Superman, Minister.
Huh?
You're a Superman.
Well, I don't know. Well, we're young, so this is when you're young, you gotta, make hay when the sunshine. I see Dr. Rose smile there. Put his head up.
When you're young, I know. You're young indeed.
Right, Minister Dr. Rose?
These
Pardon me,
grays,
Charles?
you
Go
see these
ahead.
grays?
Yeah, go on,
What is
Dr. Rose.
Okay. Minister, let me put my light on. I'll come and get my light on. Minister, I forgot my light. Minister Indar, I don't know you, period. And if I don't know you, this means that most of the Guyana don't know you either. Give us your background. Tell us something, where you're from, how long you're in politics, when you joined the PEP, and so forth. We need a background on you.
Well, that's the interesting question, and I really would like to answer. Thank you for that question. So, I grew up in a humble place called Vredenhoop on the west coast of Demerara. I was born and raised there. I was part of a big family, very poor family, limited needs. I didn't have the blessings of having a father with me. He left when I was 2 years old.
Wow.
So my mother raised me. And when I became around 17, I just finished CXC. She died. So I had myself and my younger brother, who was 2 years younger than me, to fend for ourselves. So I started working at the age of 17 plus into 18. And at the age of 21, I started to study. I got into the accountancy, and I completed the certified accounting program about 9 months in. I used that to benchmark and go into ACCA, which is the Association of Chartered Accountants of the United Kingdom. And in 24 months, I completed that program. So at the age of 24, I was a qualified chartered accountant. At the time, I was employed at Forestry Commission, and I left the job actually, and I started out at Sterling as their chief financial officer and their company secretary. And from 24 years to up until January of 2020, I worked at Sterling as their CFO and their secretary. I was second in charge of the company, and I grew laterally and I grew vertically, because as a senior executive of that manufacturing company, it's a very big company, I was able to garner a lot of skills in the private sector. I led the private sector at the helm of the Chamber of Commerce. I was the president in 2017 to 2019, 2 terms they're allowed to have. Whilst in the president position at the Chamber of Commerce, I became the vice chairman of the Private Sector Commission and some of the subcommittee chairman, like trade and investment and so on. So whilst that is happening, I also had my private business. I was building my businesses, and we were working to develop my personal life. At the end of 2019, going into 2020, maybe the last week of 2019, just before nomination day, I decided to go on the list for the PPP. So I actually joined officially into politics in January of 2020. And for nomination day, I was on the list for the People's Progressive Party Civic, and we tried for election. And we won. And well, because of the first time I'm in politics, and it's like you get thrown in the deep end of it because we've never seen something like what happened in the last election happen. And you know, the new breed in the PPP, which includes me, I would say I'm new breed because I'm fresh into politics. I'm a private sector man. It was a different feeling, you know, as a different fight. Everything felt different. So that is in a nutshell where I was born, how I grew up, how I educate myself, how I got into politics. In a nutshell, is like a 30,000 feet view of my life and how I got into politics.
Great. Now, as the minister within the Ministry of Public Works, you said that you have a lot of responsibilities, but tell our listeners, what are your primary responsibilities?
So the ministry is run by two ministers. They have Minister Bishop Edgell and they have myself. So the president, when we were appointed at that ministry, we both are cabinet members and we have a reporting line to cabinet. So within Public Works, let me just explain what the ministry has in it. We're in charge of roads, all the roads and the bridges, the street lights, sea defense. With respect to sea defense, we have also all of the infrastructural work that that the country does. We also have a lot of agencies under the ministry. For example, Guyana National Shippings is under the ministry. We have Transport and Harbors is under the ministry. We have the CGIA Airport is under the ministry. We have Guyana Civil Aviation Authority, they are under the ministry. We have the ferries, which is the Kanawaima ferry. We have that under the ministry. We have Maritime Administration Department under the ministry. So everything infrastructure, really, everything you build in the country, it's really under our ministry. But so with that, on the Public Works, I also have the aspect of energy, as I said earlier.
Okay. Now, seeing that you are within the Ministry of Public Works with Bishop Edgell, it means that a lot of collaboration has to take place.
Well, all the time, every day, all the time, because the programs that we have in the budget that we implemented in 2020 and the one that we have in now for 2021 required a lot of that. And not just with the ministers as well. And it's actually within the ministry and cross-ministry operations too, because housing does some similar works with roads and so on, and local government ministry also do some. So you have a lot of cross, collaboration between the ministries, so they don't have overlap.
Okay. Now, sometime back, I read in the papers where it was reported that the government is only improving roads and drainage systems in areas where there are PPP supporters. If this is true, why? If not, then please tell the listeners if public works is being done across the board in every region, irrespective of party supporters or wherever.
Happy to confront that question. I think that is just mischief in its truest form. I think that when we look at infrastructure, when we look at spending, it is for every Guyanese, every taxpayer, every citizen require and deserve and have that right to equal government services. And that is how we sit and we look at every region and every community. For example, right now, they got a number of roads doing in Linden. That is an area that is mostly populated by AP and UFC people. Most people from that area vote for that party, but still we have supporters there too. Nevertheless, as government, when you're doing works, you got to do works for everyone. In Region 3, where I'm from, they got different places in Region 3 that have different party supporters. Some areas support mostly APNU, some support the PPP, but works are being done everywhere. For example, if you look at the housing schemes don't have color about it, sir. Dr. Rose, the housing schemes are a mixture of everyone, every race, mixed races inside. Right now, I live in Tushin, the housing scheme I live in Tushin. There are roads being done here now, all across Tushin Phase 1. that never seen in 15 years. So for persons to say that we are doing that is for every single race, every walk of life. All the other housing schemes this year have monies to spend inside. Housing is doing a massive program in the housing schemes, as well as we are. We are complementing them there. The public access roads that we do are for everyone to travel, right? So I believe that if persons are saying that we do work only in area that people support our party, I think it's hogwash. I mean, I don't want to use more stronger terms, but it's misplaced.
Okay, Charles, before you come in, let me ask you this question. You said you're in charge of energy, power and light and so forth, working with the Prime Minister. Mr. Minister, the PP was there for 23 years. APNU was the PNC was there for 28 before that. And there have been constant power outages, blackouts, and it's still happening today. Why? Do you think you can solve this problem for the people?
I'm very happy that you asked that question, Dr. Rose, and I can certainly answer that question. So you started off by saying that I'm new to government, and you're right, because how I operate in the private sector, when I come to government and I see how people operate, it's chalk and cheese, it's South and North Pole. It's a level of bureaucracy that you see, machine bureaucracy that you see in public sector that have to be weeded out, and we have to call a spade a spade. So let's talk about GPL as you raised GPL. So I would not venture into what was done by my party for the past 23 years. I wasn't there. Although I'm in government now, I wasn't there. So I'll speak to what I have found when we came into government, what we have found, and what we're doing about it. So when I came into government, when we looked at GPL normally runs as a public corporation. They sell services and they collect their money and they spend their money and they run their operations by themselves. Now, what was happening from 2016, 17, 18, and 19 and up to 2020 is that the government, the PNC government at the time, was taking electricity, all of the ministries, all of the quasi-government agencies, everyone was taking electricity from GPL and not paying the bills. It came up to about $13.3 billion that they owed to GPL. So here's a company whose annual turnover for maybe this year is about 42 to 45 billion on estimate, and $13.3 billion is outstanding. How can they continue? How can they maintain? How can they buy fuel? How can they train people? How can they, these are the critical things. So what has happened is that maintenance was starved. The engines that were running, it was running at full capacity when we came in, because you had about 117 megawatts of power the country was required, and they had around 106, and on a good day they're going to have 115 megawatts. So any engine went down, you had severe blackouts. So what we had to do is repair the ones that we had sitting in GPL quickly and put them in, and we bought 9.6 of power from Markov, and we repaired the ones and we put them in. In less than 3 months, we had power of about 155 megawatts. So we're using at peak around December, 124.5 megawatts. And we had capacity to generate power of about 155 megawatts. That is only within 3 months period, sir. The maintenance is now the problem. So we fixed the base load issues for now. We're going to need more, because we have a 46.5 megawatts that is coming on in the next couple of months. That will take up our demand, our generating capacity. But if you look at the transmission and distribution network, GPL has about 276 kilometers of primary network, meaning the high voltage cables. And then we have another 784 kilometers of secondary networks. Those networks are old. The poles are slanted. They have sagging in the high voltage wire that carries 13,800 volts. And when they got sagging in the wire, they hit each other and they touch the earth and it feeds back and shut down the substations. When the substations shut down, they have to restart, and that is how you get blackouts. It is because of the transmission and distribution. I'll tell you this. The Demerara-Borbys interconnected system, what they call the DBIS, that system is, they only have, the feeder goes around the country. It doesn't have backup. So when you get blackout on the circuit, you have to fix it before light comes back on. And that is why you're getting these blackouts. We are fixing those systematically. Now monies are gone back into GPL. We are fixing them. We have put $6 billion at the end of the year as subvention into GPL so that they can pay some of the bills and procure some of the materials to go do their maintenance. And that we are doing it. So I'll give you an example. On the west coast of Demerara, we started in Region 3 from Vidinut to Parika, a place called Namrik, Parika. We fixed the lines here, change out most of the transformers. We have some more work to do, but we fixed majority of them. And we hardly get blackout because of this, the transmission line is being fixed. And we are putting multiple feeders in the system so that when one goes down, they put the power on the other feeder and you have continuous power whilst you repair the damage. So that is what needs to be done in this country for blackouts to stop. Let's not kid ourselves. We don't have anything that is it's not a quick fix where you fix two things and it gets better. You have to fix the network and then the blackout problem will be eliminated. And that is what our sole purpose and focus is on right now. It's the transmission and distribution network. So we are online, we have a plan to fix it, and we will fix it, sir.
Are you prepared to tell the nation now when this all will end and blackouts gone forever?
Well, everything takes money. Everything takes money. And money to do the transmission system, it's a lot. We have costed it. So we have to finance it. When we get that financing, I'll come back on the show and I'll give you a timeline when we're going to have zero blackouts. In the meantime, what we're doing is just addressing energy in a different form too. Not just with the blackouts, with bringing down the cost of energy. We are putting in what you call the gas to shore pipeline. That's going to generate somewhere around 240 megawatts of power. And that's going to bring down electricity or power cost by about around 50+%. That is what is needed right now too. Let me just put this into context. Right now, GPL, on what they have, for every dollar that they generate, they lose 26 cents or 26.4 cents in commercial and technical losses. So you have a hole. For every dollar you generate, you're losing 26 cents. So just imagine that. If you are a household or you, every time you collect your salary, a thief come and takes 26.4% out of your pocket. You lose it in commercial losses, people stealing current, and you lose it in technical losses. So that needs to be fixed. And that is what the old transmission and distribution line has, that problem of the line losses. And that needs to be fixed.
Minister, we've been hearing that since Adam came to live on Earth. I mean, the successive government have been telling us the same thing. When the PVP came into power in '92, we heard that problem. We're in 2020, and that's what you're saying today is what some of your former colleagues in prior administration would have told the Guyanese people. And we are still experiencing, Dr. Rose said, a blackout. What you mentioned just now, Minister, is that the interconnection, because of some technicalities, were not fixed. Why wasn't that done early as well?
So good, as I said to you, right? And you guys, the questions you're asking, it is fair questions. But you have to give this young administration the time to fix it. As I said to you, if we are to fix these poles and put a secondary system in place and run high tension wire throughout the country, where electricity is giving. Just think about it. It's a biblical task. It's a massive task. It doesn't fix in one calendar year. You have to be at it consistently over time. It is not, it's building out the country's infrastructure. The one that you have is old. We just did the Region 3 ones. I said to you earlier, public utility upgrade program, which is one of the program that was financed by a $64 million funding from the CDB and EU. That money was to help to repair some of the old poles in certain neighborhoods. There are a long list of areas that receive new transmission lines and new poles to make sure that they're not sagging and so on. So there are these interventions that we don't speak of. There's not everything that we don't speak of.
I know, Minister. I'm sorry I'm cutting you. Sorry to interrupt your talk. But in this year budget, let's talk about the budget. What is allocated? What is allocated for the energy sector, for electricity, for instance, and what can we expect by year end based on the capital programs that will be available to GPL?
So let me say this, right? GPL got about $2 billion from central government to its coffers, but GPL also has a budget of how they're gonna generate power and charge their customers. So they have their own capital spend out of monies they generate internally. We have put $2 billion to them, and that is from monies that were owed to them prior. We are trying to bring down the amount of monies that central government owes to GPL. So we put $2 billion into GPL for 2021. But in GPL financial statements, when I've checked it, they have a huge capital budget there. But that will be spent from funds that they generate, right? So GPL is
organic growth.
Internal funding. So they have their monies to do their capital works. We are not the government that will owe GPL money. Our government are paying GPL their bills. Whenever they bill us, they get paid. And we made that clear. When we sat with the Minister of Finance and everybody in government, we made that clear that if you use the electricity company, pay them. So they run their operation.
Okay. Minister, was there a discussion with the Islamic Bank, I think in Saudi Arabia somewhere, to talk about a revolving loan to GPL to upgrade the transmission? Is that something that is still going, and when can we expect a resolution to that if it's going on?
Well, that fund, is not a revolving fund. It was a loan to the public utility, we call Public Utilities Upgrade Program again, which is PUUP. And when we came, there was some protests on the award of the contract for that 20 million US in the last government. So when we came into government, we looked at it and we did some inquiry, and we had to annul that. So we have to go back for that money, forbidden for that. But we had to annul that arrangement because there were some persons that complained that the procurement process was not fair to them. Two of the bidders complained. So we had to address those with the Public Procurement Commission and with National Tender Board and everybody else. We had to deal with that, but we had to annul that. So it's not for GPL proper, but it's for the Power Utility Upgrade Program. That same project that I told you is working on different parts of the transmission line and GPL's management to upgrade it, that part of it. So big project is run separately by a project director.
All right, Minister, let's get to roads now. I think roads might be your biggest budget for the year. What road are you expect to complete in this fiscal year, in this budgetary year, 2021?
Well, good. So what happened is we have about $3.7 billion allocated to roads. So it's a big budget. So we have these public access roads, which are the big ones. Sometimes they run multi-year because they're larger, right? You don't finish them in a single year.
And which year are we talking about? What roads are we talking about?
Well, we have different roads. We have different roads that we're going to do. This is the public highways, right, where everybody have access to. But they have the smaller road program, which we call the miscellaneous road in our budget. These are the community roads. They have about $7.9 billion of funding this year for that. It's a very large budget for miscellaneous road. These are the roads that Dr. Rose spoke about earlier that we do in all of the communities to fix the roads. As a man drive out the yard and he go on the road, he will go to one of these same small roads before he go to the main public access ways. So these roads Those roads are between 6 to 8 months, and all of those will be finished. All of the rest of roads are already, we are advertising for them so that people can bid and start the work. Some of them will finish within the year. Some of them will be multi-year projects depending on the size. Those are the small ones, and I'm talking about the public access ones. Then you have the big projects, the project that carry the $1 billion. For example, we are going to build the Linden to Mabura road. That road is a big road. It cannot finish in one single year or 2 years. It's a long road, 125 kilometers of road. It will take is a multi-year project. So that road is already out for bidding. People are bidding, and it's going to close shortly. That's a big project. It's 3.535 billion Guyanese dollars. Then we have the Ogle to Eccles 4-lane bypass road. That road is about 7.8 kilometers, 4 lanes, and it will connect Ogle to Eccles as a bypass, so the people don't have to go through the city. That road, the funding is available, and that road will start this year. And again, that road is a massive project. It's another multi-year project funded by the government of India. So those are two of the big ones I spoke of. We have a couple of other major road networks that we're going to do in the hinterland. We have a lot of monies. I think it's $2.150 billion for hinterland roads. So those road programs finish in a single year. Those don't be multi-year projects. Similar to the hinterland airstrips, when we redo them, as you can see, only yesterday we finished the Letem Aerodrome. We have to those hinterland airstrips, they have to finish within a single year. So it depends on which one of the items you're asking for, Charles.
Right, yes. and your approach is amazing. But let's talk about the main areas: Region 4, Region 3, Region 6, Region 5. Any roads will be completed this year that have started, the main roads.
Yeah, so as I said to you, right, when you look at our roads program, it's a long list of roads. It's a long list of roads. Those same roads in Region 4, Region 3, Region 2, Region 5, and Region 6 on the coastlands, there are a long list of roads. Over 167 we have right now working on, and then we added another 100 and something roads to that program. So all of those will finish in a single year. Then, as I said to you, those are the small miscellaneous ones, and those will finish. The public access ones are dealing with like the De Hoop Road. We have the Borma Road. We have Free and Easy Road. We have different parts of the country. We have different size of roads, but all of them starting in very shortly because we already gone out to advertise, and we continue to advertise. And as the bids come in, we evaluate and we keep awarding them to start.
And so before the pros come on, I mean, what you just told us there, it's a huge undertaking. Do we have the competent contractors? And the problem is with our contractors, they try to cut costs to make a bigger profit. Do we have good engineers to ensure that we have quality road? Because as you know, Minister, a road is built this year and by next year it needs to be rebuilt again. How can we avoid that?
Yeah, so that is the issue. That is an issue everybody and every part of the world fight with. Now in Guyana, I'll tell you straight up, we have put out as a no nonsense. If you're not gonna build proper roads, and when we inspect it, it's not going to be up to our standards, we're not paying. And if our people, including our ministry people, when they go out and check these roads and bring back incorrect, misleading reports and find us paying for those faulty roads, the employees and the engineers will find themselves in hot water because we're not going to spend taxpayers' money like that. That is why now I'm asking for pictures of the roads. If you're following what we're doing in Guyana, you will see that me and myself and Bishop Edgil, we are visiting these roads whilst they're building. We're going before, whilst they're building, and when they finish building, we are, as much as we can, we are going out to them. The ones that we're not getting to go out to, We want to see pictures of them, so we know exactly what we're getting. But when you see pictures of a road when it's finished, you're not sure what happened in the sub base, in the ground, in the earthworks. So you have to, at some point, you have to have a management system to go to check it. We have the management system, but as you rightly said, in the past, it plagued us. So you've just finished a road, you got to go back and do it. But one of the problems here that we need to talk about is weight limits. You see, these roads that I'm talking about is not for big trucks fetching 5-6 metric tons of stuff moving through it and then taking the corn and parking on it and breaking the shoulders up. So those are some of the things also that destroy the roads, right?
I was coming to that, Minister. I was coming to that after our first segment. We can continue that. And before we go to break, Dr. Rose, any question for Minister?
Yes, Honorable Minister. During the campaign, the PP made three major announcements. One is to build a deep water harbor. Two, a high-span bridge across the Demerara River. And three, a brand new hydroelectric plant. Where are we now in these plans?
Okay, so the first one is the Deepwater Harbor. The Deepwater Harbor, that is in current discussion right now. The Deepwater Harbor is supposed to go to Berbice, and because the draft there, the land is there, it can serve two markets, the Guyana market and the Suriname market. So that is in discussion. That is, there are persons, there are operators who have land in Crab Island area, and so that have serious discussion at the level of the president and the vice president concerning that project. That project is something that is alive every day because we want to make sure that we benefit from it. Because as you know, because we don't have the deep water harbor, most of the services are emanating out of Trinidad, and all of the tail end services for the oil and gas sector are done in Trinidad. And we get a part of it only. And it's because of the absence of a deep water harbor. Secondly, because of the size of the ships that require to move to and from Guyana, cargo ships as well as ones in the oil and gas sector, the draft that we have at the Demerara, in the Demerara Bar cannot accommodate those ships, right? So it is needed for our country transformational development, and we all in the Fanali-led government understand that more than anything else. So that is active. The second one you mentioned about the bridge. What was the second one?
The high-span bridge across the Demerara River.
So as you know, when we had the last parliament, we were on record to say that we have put out the expression of interest, and we had about 22 different respondents. That has come down to 9 shortlisted contractors, and we are discussing the next steps with those contractors for final bidding. We expect by the end of this year, somewhere around October 21, to have a final signed contract with a bidder, the successful bidder, whoever that is. So we are now going through the process of doing we shortlisted. We are going to the next round, which is to have them bid for the design of the bridge. We have shored up the design of the fixed high span bridge to more accurate detail of recently, so that we know exactly how the bridge is gonna be situated, what height it will carry, what kind of vessel can pass through, how deep the channel can be, how long the bridge is from abutment to abutment, how broad is it. You know, every detail that we think we should know to provide to these bidders were given to them actually this morning at the meeting. So we are hoping by this year to have the contract awarded, and by 2023, October, we should see that bridge being completed.
And the other one is the hydroelectric plant.
So which is the Amelia Falls project, long and short of it, right? So the hydroelectric plant was on the cards before we left government. This was supposed to deliver 165 megawatts of power using renewable energy. The studies for this project, I understand from my discussions, took about 3 years to put together, and they're owned by a subsidiary of Blackstone Group, which is a private equity firm. So the company did not go forward with it. If anybody else is to come to do that project, they'll have to do the studies, and it will take them some time. Or they will have to go procure the studies or partner with Blackstone Group or their subsidiary to move this project forward. This project is alive and it's something that we want to pursue as a government. It's part of our manifesto, our promise to the people, and it's part of our new expanded low carbon development strategy that is currently being adjusted to meet the new realities. So in short, we have the gas to shore project, which will deliver energy around 2024, early 2024, which will deliver around 240 megawatts of power. And I believe that it's in public domain that Exxon has already been asked to bring in the pipeline inland, and then obviously studies are currently being conducted about the position it will go at Wales, and to build out the plant will be something that will go out to tender at some point shortly.
Okay, Minister, we have to go to break now. When we come back, we will continue the discussion. You've been really great in your answers, and I think our audience are really enjoying what you're saying, and we will hold you responsible for getting things done. The audience, don't go nowhere. We'll be back in 1 minute.
Allfromonesupplier.com has all your grocery needs, plus all of your West Indian items. Purchase all your groceries and all your West Indian items from one place and get free delivery to your homes and free shipping. Allfromonesupplier.com has free deliveries locally in New York and free shipping to all U.S. states. Our shoppers choose the best items, packaged nicely, and delivered to your home. We have all your grocery needs and all your West Indian items, a one-stop shop. So place all your orders on allfromonesupplier.com or call 718-551-3292. That's online at allfromonesupplier.com or call 718-551-3292. Get all your groceries and all your West Indian items from allfromonesupplier.com with free deliveries and free shipping to all U.S. states. Travelspan offers all airlines, such as American, Caribbean, and JetBlue. So let Travelspan compare all airlines and offer you the best fare. Call Travelspan at 718-845-0437 for the lowest deals between New York, Miami, and Guyana. That's Travelspan at 718-845-0437. Call Travelspan in New York at 718-845-0437, Georgetown at 227-1701, or Berbice at 337-4287. In New York, 718-845-0437, Georgetown 227-1701, or Berbice 337-4287, and West Coast Demerara at 269-0140. Let Travelspan book you the best deals for you and your families.
Welcome back to Globespan. All our listeners, here is an announcement I would like to make, and it is for all concerned. I have been receiving a number of texts and emails and phone calls over the past few months accusing us of being biased, and because we're not allowing APNU or PNC supporters to come on the program. We're only allowing PEP supporters to come on the program. And those who have emailed me and have called me and have been telling me these things, I did not say anything for the longest while, but I want them to know that Mr. Harmer is supposed to be here tonight and he canceled out. The General Secretary of the party, I called her to be on the program as well. And before I could even finish the invitation, she says, Dr. Rose, I'm not interested, bye, and hang up the phone on me. This is the response we have been getting from APNU leaders. Apparently, they do not want to come on the program. So please do not email me or call me or tell me anything, but we are biased. If you out there can get any one of APNU supporters to come on the program, we'll gladly take them. Because every week I'm receiving texts, I'm receiving emails, how biased we are. Get me 1, 2, 3, any amount of them, we'll put them on the program. Thank you. Mr. Minister, coming back to the bridge, quickly. I understand it's going to be a 4-lane bridge. I understand it's going to be 4 lanes, the bridge?
Yeah, I think that is in a conceptual design at the point.
Okay, now there's a major flaw in the Borbridge Bridge. It was built without a bicycle path, or you can walk. Is this going to have a bicycle path?
I think that is also in a conceptual design.
Okay. Okay. Charles?
Yeah, Minister. A couple of months ago, you were a citizen like Dr. Rose and I, and you had to traverse the streets of Georgetown with your car. I am really surprised that a lot of Guyanese are not dead with hypertension or blood pressure or heart attack by driving on our streets in Guyana. What plans do your ministry have to regularize the flow of traffic in Georgetown, especially on these banks?
Okay, so the rise in the number of cars in the country has outpaced the speed of development for the traffic arteries. So it is for that reason why we are doing the bypass from Eccles to Ogle. It is for that reason that we are doing another road connecting Eccles straight up to Diamond. It is that reason that we are building a new harbor bridge that is going to take it to the conduits behind of Republic Park in that Providence area, so that it can create more arteries into the city. So when you have these bypass roads, you will end up having connectors shortly after. So the main 4-lane highway gonna have connectors going into the various communities. Now, please be reminded that this project that is from Eccles to Hagbosh is a $50 million credit line, 50 million US credit line from the government of India. And when we went into government, we found the project with a total cost of 208 million US dollars. So right away, that's a non-starter, couldn't get anything. We sat together, myself, the president, Ali, Vice President Jagdeo, myself, and Minister Ejil, and some of the engineers. And we decided to rework back the project so that we arrive at a target cost of 50 million so that we can start the road as phase 1. And as phase 1 is being built out, then you can have other funds come into play to connect the roads into the villages easier. So as they're building, you're connecting into the villages. And that will be able to create more arteries. Now, it's not a quick fix. As again, same thing with GPL and others. It takes time to build out. So we are going to start that road this year, and you'll see as we progress how we are building it up. Same thing there is also a road already built by the Ministry of Housing at the back of Eccles there to connect up the Diamond area. It's out to bid. A piece was already done, and another piece is going to be added on, and that will move traffic from Diamond into the city. Now, mind you, the Diamond Grove area is the second largest NDC in the country. They have about 21,500 registered voters. So we understand where the bulk of the traffic is coming from, and there's one conduit for persons to come in and out. So we are also looking at a bypass to bring people out to the existing road right now that is a faster option, because we have it on our budget to look at something to bring traffic out of Diamond into the existing road that they have on the East Bank. So
what time frame are we looking at? What time frame?
Well, the road that is a concrete road, I think, is out Ministry of Housing, I'm not sure on that timeline, but we are looking for everything to be done in the single year because we won't give one contractor that road and it takes a year and a half to get it done. You have to split it up into lots so that they can be able to finish it quickly.
Okay.
The thing is
Minister, I
about
have
speed
a
and
gentleman.
pace.
Yeah. A gentleman who you know is coming, he's getting on the call now. And I want to show you this picture, Minister, of our roads in Berbice. And I want your comment after the question. David,
Go
can
ahead.
we have that tipping for Minister to see?
This is what the quarantine highway at number 57 village looked like this afternoon. But it is in no way different to many other villages along the upper quarantine. Many of the residents, mainly rice farmers and business persons, use the shoulders of the road as a parking lot. Heavy-duty vehicles also line the road shoulders. On Monday, a woman was killed when a car driver lost control of the vehicle and the car slammed into a parked lorry. Many are of the view that the owner of the lorry is the one who was at fault.
I believe that even if he fall asleep, he would end up in the trench and it would have been minor injury, or maybe mud would have been in the family skin. But slamming into a parked truck is like hitting a brick wall.
That was Prime Ministerial Regional Representative Goben Harbajan. Several villagers have voiced their concerns over dangers posed by parked lorries on the road shoulders. In 2016, a man was killed and on the very spot where the accident took place on Monday morning when a car attempted to avoid hitting an animal on the road but ended up hitting a parked lorry and then collided with a villager. In 2015, another man was killed at number 56 village. A parked lorry is being blamed for that death. The lorry is still parked on the same spot and has not moved for the past 4 years. The administrators of the number 56 nursery and primary schools have complained bitterly over the dangers posed to students as a result of that parked lorry.
This is an issue I have been trying to address for years now. The road shoulder becoming a personal parking lot for some of these rice farmers. It's a norm for them. What I am recommending that the relevant ministry impose stiff fine, and if possible, if they can put some charges against these people for parking on the road. We must go zero tolerance on this. That is not only affecting drivers, it's also affecting pedestrians, not to mention school children during the rainy season. These children have to navigate the way.
Harbajan says he has made several complaints to various authorities while the People's Progressive Party was in government. Now he's taking it up with his own government and is getting excuses. He says both the Ministries of Communities and Public Infrastructure are playing the blame game. According to him, the Traffic Department has shifted the blame to the NDCs, while the NDCs are pointing accusing fingers at the Public Infrastructure Ministry and the Ministry of Security.
I'm going to take this matter all the way to the top until one of these ministry, look into this with some urgency.
Meanwhile, the driver of the parked lorry GMM 9207, which the car slammed into on Monday morning, who is a rice farmer cultivating about 1,400 acres of rice, was taken into custody but spent only 2 hours at the number 51 police station. The road shoulder still remains the same.
Minister, I know Mr. Harbajan is on the call, but when will this come to an end? Does the ministry have a plan to address this issue frontally?
So, you would know, Minister Charles, that former Prime Minister had Mr. Harbajan up in Berbice for a very long time. I guess you should ask him what he was doing in his 5 years. I'm in government. I even find my chair in the offices yet. And you've seen what we've been doing. Literally, I've not find my chair, which one I'm going to sit in the office, because I'm out on the road all the time dealing with these issues. But let me tell you the issue here. The issue here is not that the NDC did not write people and tell them that don't park on the shoulder, and went to them all and explained to them. Listen, it is very sad to know that accidents are happening with this kind of thing, but this is not just a Region 6 issue. You go everywhere in the country, there is problem of people parking on the public spaces. People are building on public reserves. People are commandeering, squatting on public reserves. When you go try to deal with it, it's a big political issue. So he raised the thing in Region 6, but that issue is in every single part of this country you go, people are utilizing public spaces. The call is that we have, as Guyanese people, to know that we need to do better. It is not one region specific, one area specific, one race specific. That is a Guyanese issue you're looking at there, Charles. Everywhere. I could drive you through Region 3 and show you that. I could take you to Region 4, Region 5, Region 2, all on the coast, all in the parapets, and that I was just talking to you about the roads.
Honorable Minister,
Let me finish the point. Let me finish the point.
For this problem, the government have system in place.
All right, Harbhajan, let the minister finish, and then you come on.
Mr. Harbhajan, let the minister finish, please.
And then you come on.
You're gonna get a chance to talk, Harbhajan. So the thing is, when you go and you try to move these things, they make it into big political problems. Look at the squatting that happened at Success. I took around Christmas time. I've been around all of these schemes. If you go to Vridenook Market, you see people selling on the public road. If you come to Tushin, right where I'm living, I could point the camera out to the road and show you what is going on there. You go to Parika, you go to every marketplace, you find people are on the roadside. At the Vridenook Junction, they have food stalls. You're gonna go move them in a pandemic? When people are struggling to get by, don't have jobs, a whole host of industries to stop. So it's a big problem that we need to have. It's a big problem that we need to have a response as a country. Every citizen of this country is responsible for that. Not the PPP government or a few ministers alone. Every single citizen here is responsible for that. Everybody needs to act a little more responsibly. And that is what I will say pertaining to that. It's not that people didn't respond and go and request and write and tell them to move from the public parapets. And this is not just with Region 6, this is with every single region. Most streets you go, you see this happening. Pictures come to my phone all the time about this. It's not just trucks alone. They throw sand on the road when they're doing construction. It is the people of the country we have to look at ourselves and ask ourselves, is this the Guyana we want to live in?
Harbhajan, you got any question for the minister quickly?
Yes, Minister, I heard what you said, and you're very clear. And as I said before, the system is the government have system. All we have to allow the system to run. And as you said, people must be responsible for what they do. And the road shoulder become like a perfect burial ground for equipments which they will not use. As the Vice President said a few months ago, that it is unreasonable for what some people are doing. And I've been tackling this thing since 2006, not Region 6 alone, but I find that it is a norm and it's a tradition. But if the system, the public infrastructure and the Ministry of Local Government working collaboratively and give sort of notice to these people and let them know there's penalties for this, because we're going to have this the Suriname and the Guyana Bridge connecting that. We're going to have a lot of tourism. We don't want our highway and the quarantine. You have the 63 beach, the First Lady was there the other day. We have a meeting and that she's plugging in money into that. We want the highway to be, I mean, you know, we have lights. We want it to be safe and beautified. We don't want to see old combine tractors and then you have paddy spread on the road actually have the way. As you mentioned, Minister.
Mr. Harbhajan, what's your question though?
I didn't hear that, Coach.
What's your question?
My question is, I want to know what the minister have in place to get this old junk machine removed off the road, and which ministry really is responsible, because the blame game keep continue. Yes, okay. I get.
Let the minister answer the question, Mr. Harbhajan.
The Prime Minister, what is it? We go in circles.
So based on everything that I know, once it's on a public access way like the one there is, it's on the road shoulders, it's public works. If it's into the community, in the small areas, the NDC have a role to play there, right? So the ones on the main road will be on the parapet of the main roads, the main access road, that will be public works responsibility. Right? So it's not like we public works and we the government, you know, condoning or anything. But I'm saying to you, you know that if you park it for a few hours, fine. But if you're gonna park it there and stay in the rotten down, well, that's unreasonable. But that is something that every Guyanese must bear a responsibility. Listen, They got to listen. They got stacks and stacks of legislation like this to tell you don't do criminal things, but yet still people go do criminal things. So although we have there is a rule that you can't go use public department to park up your stuff and have use of public reserves, people still go. You have to try your best to work with people. You got to try your best to advise them. And listen, the big stick approach is one approach only, sirs. Writing them, finding them is only one approach. It's not the and only approach. Talking to people sometimes is more effective than the big stick approach.
But Minister, you're right. These are the same Guyanese who go overseas and comply with the rules and regulations. They go to North America, they go to the United States, and they cannot park a commercial vehicle on the street after 9 o'clock. And they observe that. They come home and they just take everything for granted. So I think the attitude that our Guyanese have, that they don't care a damn about anybody else except themselves. And that might be something that your ministry really have to work on.
Yeah, well, I'm not going to be so strong, Dr. Charles. I love the Guyanese people, everyone of them, no matter which part.
They're all Guyanese.
Because a majority of them voted for us to put us to I'm not going to beat them down. But what I'm going to say to you is that it is something that we have to work on, and we have to be mature about it. Everybody have to be mature about it. That the country needs to develop, and if we want to move to a first world nation where everybody admires us, we have to operate differently, think differently, and behave differently.
Okay, Minister, before Dr. Rose come back on, I want to ask you this question. I went to Berbice. Actually, I'm in Guyana now, and I went to Berbice last week. Approaching the Berbice River Bridge, there is no sign. I went to West Demerara, approaching the Demerara Harbor Bridge. There is absolutely no sign. You don't know where you are sometimes. These little things, you go on the East Bank, you don't even know you're approaching the Demerara Harbor Bridge. Is there anything in the budget to at least put those nice, beautiful lighted signs up so at least the public knows that they're approaching the Berbice Bridge or the Demerara Bridge on both sides of the river?
Well, it's actually something that we're looking at with the new roads that we're building to make sure that they have proper signs, they're painted properly, and so on. I don't know if you look at my page and so when I put up pictures of roads that are completed, they are properly painted and so on. And the signage is something that we have to look a little more serious into. You're right. Again, if we want to transform the country, it must look like a transformed country when you finish building out. Right? So I agree with you. And it's something that we are looking into as part of when a contract is issued. There must be a standard sign that goes along with it, right? And when a highway is built, you have the kind of signs that you see, those nice green signs that you see. Yes.
So we are moving full ahead with all this infrastructure, but even the basic, simple things with signs are missing. And Minister, I'm glad you mentioned about the street lights because you said it comes under your ministry. Here on the East Coast, you come through the East Coast Highway and a lot of those lights not working. On the Demerara Harbor Bridge, the lights that are there since 1976, the same lights are there. What are we doing with our lighting? The lighting makes the aesthetics of the job so much better. Are we going to enhance our lighting?
For sure. So let me just tell you, right? For people who don't understand what we achieved in the last couple of months and what we found. When we came into government, you know my lights that were in the Ministry of Public Works? 30. And the rest was in a container that wasn't working. We had to go and buy parts to repair them, to put them out, because we had an emergency budget. And in the emergency budget, it was to bring back us online with spending and so. We didn't get to go through every fine, small thing to make sure that we had everything, with street lights and so. So street lights wasn't in the first couple of months. We had some, we repaired them, we put them out. And the ones that we had that weren't working, we've sent out people to repair them. So we didn't have lights from August to December. In this year budget, there's a couple of thousand of lights. I think it's about 2,600 lights that is in the budget to go out. So it's in procurement stage now. And we're going to put them at the places that have the gaps, where places are dark, some of them not working, we're going to change them out. So Minister, we do have something in the budget for that.
Is there a maintenance crew that go around and verify that these lights are working?
Yes, we have in our ministry a maintenance crew that goes along with 2 cherry pickers, and they go about the country and they try to repair as much as they can with the spares that they have.
Okay.
We do that. We have that.
Dr. Rose?
Yes, Minister. It is my understanding that not one, but 2 feasibility studies were done for railway service. And this was done some time ago. Does this government has any plans to bring back the railway system?
Well, I can tell you, I wouldn't speak to the plans on that because I haven't seen that in our manifesto for the first 5 years. So what we're doing really is a contract that we had with the people when we were campaigning. That is what we're implementing. I don't know if I'm 100% correct on that, but I didn't see rail in the manifesto. So there's nothing in this budget on rails, and I'm not too sure about the studies that you're referring to.
Okay, what plans are in place to develop the country's infrastructure to meet the increasing demands of the oil and gas sectors?
So it depends on what kind of infrastructure you're talking about. So infrastructure is a broad area. So if you're talking about the roads, where we're looking into those. If you're talking about moving high structures, they have to be moved on highways or on barges because they have the electricity poles and the wires on the roads, some of the roads. If you're talking of a shore-based facility, there are two of them, one a major one and then a smaller version of it. And then they have a lot of other private sector people are engaging in building shore-based facilities, which are needed to operate offshore. If you're talking about subsea structures in terms of fabrication, there again, as a private endeavor, there are persons looking into the fabrication yards to start to do what you call the risers that you put on the sea floor to fabricate them in country. So we have a number of areas for infrastructure that you're talking about, and some of them are government, some of them are private sector endeavors. With respect to the channel in the Demerara Bar, it's something that government is seriously looking into to drilling, to dredging, so that you can have larger ships coming into the bar. That brings economies of scale. That is something that is an infrastructure that is needed. A lot of people normally skim past that. One of the reasons why the larger ships can't come to Guyana is for that very reason.
Okay, Minister, sorry, when we have to take a break now. When we come back, we will have our final session. We want to thank you, Minister, for spending all this time with us and for your bold answers to the questions that we have asked you thus far. So to our audience, don't go nowhere. We'll be back in 1 minute.
Shop online and deliver to Travelspan to handle all of your shipping to Guyana and Trinidad. Travelspan brings 26 years of experience in the travel business. Travelspan will clear your items and have it available at any of our offices in Guyana or Trinidad. So go online and purchase your item, then let Travelspan handle all the shipping. Shop and ship made easy with Travelspan, with offices in New York, Georgetown, Berbice, West Coast Demerara, and Trinidad. Travelspan, serving you with your airlines and shipping needs. Call in New York 718-845-0437 and in Guyana call 227-1701. That's in New York 718-845-0437 and in Guyana 227-1701. And in Trinidad call 672-2060. That's 672-2060. You can now have all your groceries delivered to your home. AllFromOneSupplier.com has all your grocery needs, plus all of your West Indian items. Purchase all your groceries and all your West Indian items from one place and get free delivery to your homes and free shipping. AllFromOneSupplier.com has free deliveries locally in New York and free shipping to all U.S. states. Our shoppers choose the best items packaged nicely and delivered to your home. We have all your grocery needs and all your West Indian items, a one-stop shop. So place all your orders on allforonesupplier.com or call 718-551-3292. That's online at allfromonesupplier.com or call 718-551-3292. Get all your groceries and all your West Indian items from allfromonesupplier.com with free deliveries and free shipping to all U.S. states.
Welcome back to our audience. We want to thank the Honorable Minister, Deodat Indar, for being with us, and to your audience for staying on with us as we continue. Minister, I have some social media from your colleague in Parliament, Shara Duncan. Is he parliamentarian? I think he is, right?
Yes.
He says in his one of his posted, the PP come back, Deodat mansion going up in record time. What do you say to Mr. Duncan?
Well, I have to express a level of decorum because your feed goes everywhere. So the level. So, but nevertheless, just for those who give a damn about it, as I said to you earlier, I spent 17 years in the private sector to senior level. I was, as finance professionals, you're paid decently. I worked and I saved, and then after a while, I got into my own businesses, and those also provided income for me. I did consultancy because I'm a qualified person, so that also provided consultancy, and I saved. In January of 2020, before the election, before I started building my house, I use a small contractor, so it keeps the labor cost down, and I bought most of my stuff from March of 2020, when the country was on a lockdown and nobody was building or spending any money. I was building my house, and I got good prices for stuff and so on. So I'm building my house. My money that I came to government with, I didn't came with my hands empty. I saved my money. I'm a private sector guy. I'm not a a person with an office with 2 staff and like that. I save, and I'm building my house, and the house is partially complete. When I took government, when I became a minister, August 5th, around a month after, I was September. Some media people were around, and they came and they took picture of the house and they wrote an article about me. And when they took the picture in September, mere days after I became minister, it was already 60% complete. So for them to put my private house up on Facebook as if something is sinister or something, one, it poses a security problem for me because my wife and my kids live here. And the other thing is that these gutter-like politics and behavior is not for everyone. Some people, they don't consume that, So I would like to say to them, if you want to know anything about my finances, ask, I'll show you. If you want to know if I have a mortgage on the house, ask and I'll show you. If you want to know where money comes from or where all my assets are, ask, I'll show you, because I came to government with them. I've disclosed them to the Integrity Commission with my first return. So I don't have much to worry about. Everything that I spend here, we write checks and we keep bills for them. So I don't, worry too much about that. The problem is with Duncan and his gang, they have this thing about, because they are so dishonest, they were so dishonest in their government, and we are finding all of the fraud. They believe everybody is the same thing. But I have news for them. Everybody is not the same thing. We have good, clean, decent people in government.
I agree with you, Minister.
Hey, Minister, now before you go on, one question. Minister, in the last government, Cathy Hughes had a conflict of interest with a company that she owned, and there were reports that she was giving contracts to that company being in government. There are reports also that, as you said, you're in private business, that you have a business. Is there a conflict of interest being a minister and being the owner of a business? I mean, what's your view?
Well, let me clear that up for you. Before I became a minister, I resigned from all. I had to dispose of them. When I became a minister, that had to go.
Okay.
So I had to resign from them. I had to leave all. So you're right, there's conflict of interest, and because of that, I resigned from all, and I've liquidated my stake in them.
Okay, Dr. Rose?
Minister Indar, the the Suzak-Linden Highway was built a long time ago, in excess of what, 5 decades, and it's in bad need of repairs. Will this government undertake to do the project to repair that Linden Highway road? And two, the Suzak-Linden Highway, it's in bad need of repairs, I was told.
Yeah, so there is 150 million Guyanese dollars in the budget to do the sectional repairs of the road where they have issues.
Okay. The other question is that it's about the only highway.
So that answers your first question again. If we build things in areas that only our supporters have, right? What's the next one, Dr. Rose?
I want to tell you what was reported in the media. Okay. The second question is this. That's about the only highway that don't have street lights, and accidents occur there quite often. Will this government undertake to put lights on that highway?
I can't say that in this current budget. We have remember, most of the highway is not populated with people at the side. So, and then we have the needs of people that traverse in these housing schemes that complain they get robbed because the place is dark. So you have to measure that, and you have to put to the area where most people, where you have more population density, where you have reported crime and those kind of things. So you'll put the lights in those areas as priority. But to put it in areas that have trees alone, I don't want to sound too caustic, but to put it where they have trees and just for the traveling public in vehicle, I believe that in the priority list that might be, a little down. So you have to put in areas like, for example, where they had all of the protests in Region 5. Sometimes there are a lot of darkness there. On the entire coast on Region 6, I had to send the guys there to repair the lights. They spent weeks there. On Region 2, they had to go do the same thing to repair lights on the highways. Now, this is just the main public access ways. Then you go into the schemes and into the villages. They have street lights there. They have dark places there that people go to school. They come home from work late. They have young children. You have single ladies, single mothers. You have to look at those things too, and you have to make a conscious decision to where do I put it? Where is it most needed? And that is how you ration the little resources that you have.
Mr. Minister, what plans the Ministry of Public Works have for natural disasters?
Well, natural disaster, in terms of sea defense, from the perspective of flooding, and from that perspective, we have been. But what we came is found, I must tell you, is that the entire coastline is vulnerable. We found a lot of contracts that were not even being implemented. When I came into government, the second day I was on the ground in Danzig, and monies are awarded to contractors and are not fixing the breach in time. So when you don't fix a 5-meter breach in time, that 5 meter becomes 500 meters and costs you 20 times the cost that if you would have arrested quickly. So with sea defense, we have put in close to $5 billion in this budget this year alone. And then we have a maintenance budget too, to deal with aspects of sea defense, to deal with disasters, natural disasters, especially with flooding, right? In the city have a problem with the sluices and so on, and the amount of rainfall that can come out and drain within the turnaround of the tide. I think it's about 2.5 inches can be drained within the turnaround of the tide. And sometimes you get rainfall above 2.5 inches. So that's a problem we have in the city that we're looking to make sure we put more pumps into the system. And we have received some pumps through the Ministry of Agriculture, and they were being placed. We got that from the government of India to get more water pumped out within the turn of the tide. So,
Minister,
we don't have other natural disasters like hurricanes and volcanoes, the rest of things, So the only one that we have that is probable is flooding, and we are dealing with those.
Do the Ministry of Public Works, because of its importance, have a well-functioning, reliable, experienced, and qualified staff? If not, do you have plans to recruit from overseas if they're not in Guyana?
Well, if I tell you, yes, we have qualified staff in all of the areas, the answer is no. We have qualified staff for the current programs we're dealing with. when we have projects like, massive projects, you have to bring in people from the diaspora, right? Especially like, for example, if you need, like we're building a bridge, you need people to do the mathematical calculations, engineers to do the mathematical calculations of the accuracy of the bridge, the steel, the structure, everything. We don't have that. We got to bring that in. If you need people to do sedimentation flow study, you have to bring people in. So there are some things that we have in Guyana, and we work with what we have. But if you want to be a country and a people and a government that understands your inabilities, well, you have to look hard and say, well, I just can't do this. We need to bring people in. Now, we don't have a problem with bringing people from the diaspora who have the skills. In fact, we encourage it. Our president and the vice president has encouraged that.
Charles?
Yeah, Minister, I think I was going to ask that question. Will priority be given to Guyanese who might have had those experiences or those technical competence to be recruited to undertake those tasks? But I think you answered the question in the diaspora.
Okay.
Yeah. Minister, I know we have taken a lot of your time. We are coming to program time now. There's a lot of questions that we still have for you, but we can't keep you here the entire night. You have been very, I think, very open in your answers. Your discussion has been fruitful and very prudent. And we just want to wish you and Minister Edgell great luck and in your year this year with that huge budget to ensure that whatever your objectives are in the budget that they are achieved. And I know the PEP has a great 5-year plan, and if everything works well, I think in another couple of years, Guyanese should see all the benefits from those arrangements. So, Minister, I want to thank you again for being with us tonight.
Thank you very much, Charles. Thank you very much, Dr. Rose. Thanks. I'm glad you had me on to explain some of these things, and I appreciate the kind of questions and the frankness of the questions, because I can answer any one of them. That is all. Sorry.
Thank you, Minister Indar. Thank you, and you've been very gracious to come on at such a short notice, and I greatly appreciate that. Thanks very much.
And next week, to our audience, we'll have the Honorable Minister of Finance, Dr. Ashni Singh, to be on the seat where Minister Indar is in tonight, and we look forward to see Dr. Singh next week as we ask him some questions of his portfolio.
And
so
the following week, we'll have the Mayor of Georgetown on, Mr. Yubraj Narayan.
And this Wednesday, we're having Vice President Jagdeo back on the program, but with not Dr. Rose and I, but with the Wednesday details.
Okay.
So thanks again, Minister Indar. Thanks again. Thanks.
And to our audience out there, we want to thank you so much to Nohar Singh and to Devin Bisu. We want to again wish Minister all the best and good luck to you, and God bless you, and God bless this great country of Guyana.
God bless you all.